Stand outside almost any British terraced house built before 1950 and look up at the front. The windows are small, not just modest. Small in a way that takes a moment to register when you come back from a fortnight in France, or the Netherlands, or Germany, where the glass runs almost floor to ceiling and the light fills the room from the street. In a British front room, the light arrives at an angle, through a gap, as if it were rationed. It was. Between 1696 and 1851, Britain taxed its citizens on the number of windows in their homes. The more light you let in, the more you paid. Builders responded the only way they could. They made the windows smaller and they made fewer of them. And then the tax was repealed and the builders kept making them small anyway, because by then it was just how British houses were built. In 1696, King William III faced a severe financial crisis. The national currency was collapsing due to the widespread clipping of silver coins, and the government desperately needed to fund the state without resorting to an intrusive, unpopular income tax. The solution was the Act for Making Good the Deficiency of the Clipped Money, which established a levy on light. This new property tax was designed to be assessed entirely from the street. An inspector known as a window peeper simply walked past a dwelling and counted the openings, leaving no need to enter the home or conduct a domestic census. Initially, the law targeted only the wealthy. Every house paid a flat rate of 2 shillings, with homes having fewer than 10 windows exempt from any further charges. As the state demanded more revenue, the tax grew increasingly aggressive. By 1747, Parliament restructured the law, lowering the threshold so that houses with 7 or more windows became liable. The public response was immediate. Homeowners bricked up existing windows and plastered over openings overnight to drop below the new taxable brackets. Builders designed new properties with dead window spaces, blank recesses built into the masonry to preserve the architectural symmetry of Georgian facades while keeping the actual glass to a minimum. Today, these blocked openings remain frozen in the historic streetscapes of Bath's Upper Bristol Road, Edinburgh's New Town, and Bristol's Old Market. They survive not as decorative quirks, but as permanent physical evidence of a population physically shut out from the sun to escape a fiscal penalty. Long before the window tax of 1696, England's architectural trajectory pointed toward light. In the late 16th and early 17th centuries, domestic builders favoured extensive glazing as a primary statement of wealth and security. The clearest monument to this era is Hardwick Hall, built in 1590, which earned the popular local saying, "Hardwick Hall, more glass than wall." This design trend was not restricted to the elite. Advances in glassmaking, including the rise of wheeled-in glass houses and the development of cheaper lead glass, caused the cost of glazing to plummet during the 17th century. As a result, even ordinary vernacular cottages and modest homes began installing larger, more generous windows. The country was moving steadily toward brighter, healthier indoor environments. The introduction of the window tax did not just halt this progress, it actively reversed a century of architectural evolution, freezing English homes in darkness for the next 155 years. In 1851, the same year the Great Exhibition celebrated British industrial triumph inside a massive glass palace, Parliament finally repealed the window tax. But the sudden freedom of light did not trigger a sudden return to large windows. By the time the tax ended, 5 generations of speculative builders had worked under its restrictions. The practice of keeping glass to a minimum was no longer a tax evasion strategy. It had become an ingrained habit. Between 1850 and 1914, Britain underwent an unprecedented urban expansion, constructing over 5 million terraced homes to house its growing industrial workforce. This massive building boom did not reset architectural design. Instead, speculative builders relied on standardized pattern books popularized by figures like John Nash and Thomas Cubitt. These books preserved the compact, vertically aligned sash window designs born during the tax era, turning a temporary financial penalty into a permanent design template. The economics of brick construction reinforced this lock-in. Because brick walls are load-bearing, cutting wider openings required expensive iron or stone lintels and more complex masonry work. Keeping windows narrow and small lowered material costs, simplified assembly, and maximized structural stability. Speculative builders, looking for rapid, low-cost repetition, chose the cheapest path. The law that penalized light was gone, but the physical templates, the economic incentives, and the sheer momentum of industrial construction ensured that the dark, narrow-windowed Victorian terrace became the permanent footprint of the British streetscape. In 1919, the Tudor-Walters Report established new design guidelines for post-war state housing, prioritizing room sizes and basic sanitation over a daylight revolution. The report aimed to build homes fit for heroes, yet it contained no numeric requirements for glass, leaving window dimensions to the discretion of local builders. 4 decades later, the 1961 Parker-Morris standards continued this approach, prioritizing interior floor space, storage, and heating rather than brighter glazing. When numeric rules were introduced, they codified the existing dark baseline. Under the 1965 building regulations, the British government set a minimum window-to-floor area ratio of just 10% for habitable rooms. While this 10% rule remained virtually identical through the 1991 revision, other countries set their expectations higher. Germany's standards require 12.5% glazing ratio, while the Netherlands uses natural light modelling as a different design philosophy to bring in more natural light. In Britain, the regulatory system simply accepted the status quo, turning a historic habit into a permanent legal minimum. Local planning authorities in historic districts enforce strict rules to protect the visual heritage of Victorian and Edwardian neighbourhoods. Under these conservation guidelines, attempts to enlarge a window opening are typically rejected as visually incompatible with the streetscape. Property owners who want to install double glazing must replace their windows like for-like, matching the original dimensions and materials exactly. This regulatory pressure created a highly standardized manufacturing market. Instead of pushing for larger glazing, UPVC window manufacturers designed their mass-market product lines around existing, narrow British apertures, standardizing heights from 600 to 1,500 millimeters and widths from 488 to 1,770 millimeters. By supplying off-the-shelf units that fit these historic brick openings, the supply chain quietly normalized these proportions. A self-reinforcing feedback loop was born. The market protects the old shape simply because it is old. The National Health Service estimates that roughly 2 million people in the United Kingdom experience seasonal affective disorder annually. While inadequate residential daylight is not the sole cause of this winter depression, it remains a significant contributing factor, particularly when comparing the United Kingdom's lower winter light levels to other Northern European nations. These smaller window openings also create a distinct energy paradox. While they successfully restrict summer solar gain to prevent modern overheating, they also lock out valuable winter passive solar heating, resulting in a net energy disadvantage under typical British climate conditions. Research after 2000 from the Building Research Establishment shows that many newly constructed British homes still fall well below recommended well-being-oriented window ratios. As the grey afternoon light fades early in these quiet front rooms, it becomes clear how easily an architectural habit can persist long after its original legislative cause has disappeared. If this story interested you, there is a video right here about why British houses are the smallest in Europe. Subscribe for more design histories. As afternoon light fades early in British front rooms, we still live in the shadow of a long-dead tax. Habits outlive their causes. If this story interested you, there is a video right here about why British houses are the smallest in Europe. Subscribe for more.